Today, we're diving into one of the most intense intelligence battles you can imagine. It's a secret war happening inside our own bodies against these rogue cells we call cancer.
So here's the central question, right? The one that keeps scientists up at night. How does just one rogue cell, out of trillions, manage to outsmart this incredible system that's been perfected over millions of years? This isn't just a simple glitch in the system. It's an all-out rebellion. All right, so how does it start? It all kicks off with a total communication breakdown. See, a normal cell, its whole life is run by signals from the body. Grow now, okay, time to rest, time to die. But a cell on the path to becoming cancerous, it basically becomes deaf to all those commands. It just plugs its ears and ignores all the signals telling it to stop dividing. But here's the crazy part. It doesn't just ignore the rules, it starts making its own. It becomes manipulative, sending out fake signals to trick its healthy neighbors into actually helping it grow. Now, to pull off a rebellion like this, you need fuel, a ton of fuel. And that brings us to cancer's first big play, a massive energy heist. It literally rewires how our cells make energy.
The fancy term for this is metabolic reprogramming, and it's a core part of cancer's playbook. Think of it like this. A normal cell is like a city running on a super efficient, clean power grid. A cancer cell? It says forget that and builds its own massive, gas-guzzling, high-octane engine right in the middle of everything, just burning through fuel like there's no tomorrow. So you really have a tale of two metabolisms here. On one hand, you've got your healthy cell. It's a master of efficiency. It uses this process, oxidative phosphorylation, to squeeze every single bit of energy out of its fuel. But the cancer cell? It couldn't care less about efficiency. It chooses this super fast, super wasteful process called glycolysis. This is what's known as the Warburg effect. And you might think, why be so wasteful? Well, there's a method to the madness. That messy process spits out all the raw building blocks, the bricks and mortar that the cancer cell needs to replicate itself at insane speeds. Okay, so the rogue cell has its fuel line locked down. What's next? It's got to dodge the cops. And in this case, the cops are our own immune system. This takes some serious spy-level tactics, what we'll call the art of evasion. One of its sneakiest moves is this secret signal it sends out. First, the cancer cell starts pumping out a hormone called SZCG2. Think of it like a secret coded message. Then, this message finds a very specific docking port, a receptor called LILRB4 on our immune cells. The very cells that are supposed to be hunting it down. And when it docks, boom, it flips an off switch on the immune cell, basically telling our security forces to just stand down. The threat is shut down before the fight can even get started. It's brilliant, in a terrifying way. But what if that trick doesn't work? What if the immune cells stay online? Well, cancer's got a plan B. It just hides its identity. It uses a protein called YTDF2 to literally erase the ID tags, the antigens, from its surface. It's like a spy in a movie throwing away their uniform so they can blend into the crowd. And this is a huge problem because our best therapies, things like CAR T-cell therapy, are trained to look for those exact ID tags. And get this tactic works. It works alarmingly well. When we look at blood cancers treated with CAR T-cell therapy that targets a specific marker, CD19, somewhere between 28 and 68% of the time, the cancer comes back simply because the cells figured out how to erase that marker. It's like they learn what we're searching for, and then they just make themselves invisible. It's incredible. So, that's the enemy's playbook, right? Steal the energy and hide from the guards. But here's the good news. For years, we've been building up our own counterintelligence operation. We are fighting back, and we're doing it by unleashing our own agents. This is the whole idea behind immunotherapy. It's a total shift in thinking. Instead of just poisoning the cancer with chemo, the goal here is to wake up our own immune system, to basically reboot it and say, hey, look, here's the bad guy you've been missing all this time. And one of the star players in this field is a set of tools called monoclonal antibodies. And this is just a peek at our arsenal. Each of these antibodies is like a highly specialized agent trained to hunt down one specific target. You've got rituximab, which goes after the CD20 marker on lymphoma cells. Then you have others, like ipilimumab and nivolumab, that go after different targets called CTLA4 and PD1. Now, what are those? Think of them as emergency brakes on your immune system that cancer has learned how to press. These drugs, they basically put a block on that brake pedal. They're cutting the brake lines, so our immune system just gets a permanent green light to go on the attack. But just fighting back? That's not enough anymore. The next big leap, the real game changer, is moving from just counterattacking to full-blown counterintelligence. We're talking about hacking into cancer's own systems and turning them against it.
So it turns out, and this is amazing, every single tumor has its own black box, just like an airplane. And inside this black box is a recording of everything, where that very first rogue cell came from, the path it took to grow, every single move it's ever made.
So what is this black box? Well, scientifically, it's called the epigenome. It's this whole other layer of information sitting on top of our DNA. Think of it like a bunch of sticky notes and highlighters on the pages of a book. They don't change the words, but they tell you which sentences to read and which to ignore. By reading these chemical marks, scientists can literally play back the tumor's entire history. And what's even crazier, they can start to predict its future moves. They can get a real sense of how aggressive it's going to be. And this new level of intelligence is showing us just how much of a master strategist cancer really is. I mean, listen to this quote from researcher Sarah Maria Fent. It says that a primary breast tumor was already getting the lungs ready for invasion long before any cancer cells had even arrived there. It's sending supplies ahead of the army. It's literally preparing the battlefield in advance. And once you can understand the enemy's code, you can build weapons to break it. So remember that YTDF2 protein we talked about, the one that acts like a cloaking device helping cancer hide? Well, by understanding that system, scientists have now developed a drug, CCI38, that is specifically designed to block it. We found the cloaking device, and now we built the jammer. But this intelligence war, it's always escalating. The enemy is always adapting. So what's the next move? Where do we go from here? Well, that brings us to the future of this fight, and the next generation of agents we're getting ready to deploy. Okay, so what you're seeing here is just how insanely complex the neighborhood around a tumor is. But let's just zoom in on one key player here, the mesenchymal stem cell, or MSC for short. These cells are just fascinating. They're kind of like double agents. A tumor can actually trick them into helping it grow. But, and this is the key, scientists found out that these MSCs also have this natural built-in GPS that makes them home in on tumors. And that makes them the perfect candidates for a next generation of secret agents.
So what we can do now is engineer these cells to be our very own Trojan horses. We can load them up with a deadly payload. Maybe it's powerful chemo drugs, or special cancer-killing viruses, or even new genetic code. Then we release them into the body, and because of that natural homing instinct, they travel right to the tumor, sneak inside the gates, and deliver that payload directly behind enemy lines. This means maximum damage to the cancer with way less collateral damage to healthy tissue.
And that really brings us to the final and maybe most important question of all. This fight, it's an evolutionary arms race. There's no doubt about it. Cancer is always adapting. It's constantly rewriting its playbook, trying to find new ways to survive. So the ultimate question for us is, can our science, our intelligence, our creativity, can we always stay one step ahead?